You're holding up a whole terminal for a stack of old paper. That's what the officer said, right before he ripped the envelope in half. The old man didn't flinch. He just said, "That letter is 81 years old. Please be careful with it." Around them, the security line went still. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Somewhere behind a badge and a name tag, a decision was being made that would end a career by sundown. Who was this grandfather with the cracked leather suitcase? What was actually inside that envelope? And why, in exactly 6 minutes, would every runway at this airport go silent at once? Keep watching, because what happens next started 40 years earlier, at a kitchen table, with a woman who is no longer here to see it. Theodore Briggs was 81 years old, and he traveled the way he'd always traveled, quietly, early, alone. The suitcase had been his wife Odessa's, cracked leather, brass latches, a strip of masking tape on the handle that still said her name in her own handwriting. Inside, wrapped in a dish towel, sat one envelope he had never once let out of arm's reach. Officer Derek Mallory saw an old black man moving slow through his line, and slow looked like suspicious to a man who mistook speed for authority. Mallory had built his whole career on making people small before anyone above him noticed. "Sir, step aside. Bag's getting flagged." Theodore stepped aside. Calm, Mallory snapped the latches open, like they'd insulted him. Clothes, a folded flag, and the envelope. "What is this? Evidence?" Theodore said. "Careful with that one." And Mallory tore it anyway, corner to corner, in front of everyone. Paper fluttered to the floor like it was nothing. A woman gasped. A child stared. Theodore knelt, slow, and gathered the pieces without a word. But what nobody in that terminal knew yet was whose signature was on that paper. Odessa taught Theodore, at their kitchen table 40 years ago, that dignity is the one thing a torn envelope can never touch. He carried that lesson the way he carried her handwriting on the handle, quietly and always. 6 minutes. That's how long it took the alert to travel. Because that envelope held the original 1987 federal commendation naming Theodore Briggs as the engineer of the 5-minute hold. The de-icing safety check, now mandatory at every airport in the country. His name, still flagged in the National Aviation Registry, 40 years later. A supervisor came running down the concourse, badge in hand, breathless, calling his name like a prayer. Every departure board in the terminal froze mid-blink. Ground stop, nationwide hold, triggered automatically the moment his identity pinged the system. Mallory turned around, saw the supervisor kneel in front of the old man he'd just humiliated, watched his face drain of every ounce of color it had. Same crowd, same line, same torn envelope, now being held like scripture by a man in a suit, twice Mallory's rank. "Do you have any idea?" the supervisor said, voice shaking. "Whose morning you just ruined?" The reckoning didn't stay quiet for long. The airport authorities suspended Mallory within the hour. The airline issued a formal apology and covered every dollar of restoration for Odessa's original letter, now behind glass. And footage of an old man on his knees, gathering torn paper without anger, reached 11 million views before the airline's statement even went out. Passengers who'd stood frozen in that line came forward, not to sue, but to say they'd seen it, and they were ashamed they hadn't spoken sooner. 2 years later, the airport renamed a wing of the terminal the Briggs Safety Corridor, and every new hire in security now studies his name before they study the manual. Not for what he built in the sky, but for how he knelt on that floor and never raised his voice. If this story moved you, hit like, share it with someone who needs the reminder, and subscribe for more. Then tell me, have you ever watched someone stay calm when the whole room expected them to break? Here's what really gets me about Theodore Briggs. He never once mentioned the commendation to defend himself. He let the paper speak when he wouldn't. So tell me in the comments, is there someone in your life you underestimated until the moment they proved you wrong?